Welcome to Top 10 Binge, your go-to channel for all things current and relevant. We're here to hook you with our questions about Formula One controversies. In this episode, we'll be talking about the biggest Formula One controversies of all time. The race that never was. When the U.S. Grand Prix was canceled in 2005, it was a huge blow to Formula One fans. The race had been held at Indianapolis Motor Speedway since 2000 and was one of only two American rounds on the calendar, the other being at Watkins Glen. The 2005 edition had been scheduled to take place on July 23rd, but just before qualifying began, it was announced that the event would not go ahead due to safety concerns over some of the track's corners. The decision led to accusations that politics had played a role in its cancellation. Some believed that Bernie Ecclestone wanted to avoid having an American winner during an election year when George W. Bush would be running for re-election against John Kerry. Others argued that Michelin had pressured F1 bosses into canceling the race so they could showcase their new tires instead, something they failed miserably at doing earlier in 2005 when several teams struggled with punctures during practice sessions at Suzuka following heavy rain there earlier in July. The Spygate scandal. The 2007 Spygate scandal was one of the biggest controversies in Formula One history. The controversy began when Ferrari were accused of espionage by McLaren, who claimed that their technical information had been leaked to them from inside Ferrari. The FIA launched an investigation into whether or not this was true, and it resulted in McLaren being fined $100 million and stripped of all constructor points for 2007. They were also banned from competing at the 2008 Australian Grand Prix. The crash that changed everything. The most tragic of all Formula One controversies is the death of Ayrton Senna. The Brazilian driver was killed during the 1994 San Marino Grand Prix when his car crashed into a wall at over 200 miles per hour and then bounced back onto the track. The crash was so violent that it caused an instant safety concern among spectators, drivers, and administrators alike. In response to this tragedy, new regulations were introduced in 1995 that banned any form of bodywork from being placed on top of cars' chassis, a rule still enforced today by FIA, Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile. The Crashgate scandal. The Crashgate scandal was one of the biggest Formula One controversies in recent history. It occurred in 2009 when Renault F1 team were accused of manipulating their cars' fuel tanks so that they could crash into rival cars during races and cause them to retire from the race. The team's manager, Flavio Briatore, claimed that this was done on purpose so that his driver, Fernando Alonso, would win more races than his main competitor for the title, Lewis Hamilton. The implication was that Briatore wanted to help his driver win the championship at any cost, even if it meant breaking rules and cheating other drivers out of victories or points. The Flexigate controversy. One of the most recent controversies in Formula One history is the Flexigate scandal, which occurred during the 2015 season. The controversy was centered around claims that Mercedes had broken rules by using a flexible front wing flap to gain an aerodynamic advantage over their competitors. In addition to this rule-breaking accusation, there were also implications that Mercedes may have been using other illegal methods as well. For example, one team member was accused of placing sensors on his helmet during races so he could relay information back to engineers. Another employee was said to have used a camera mounted on his cap during practice sessions so he could film data from inside the car while it was moving. This would require him sitting in different positions than normal. And still another employee allegedly used his phone while driving around town so he could monitor data remotely while out of reach from race control officials. The Halo debate. The Halo device has been a controversial topic in Formula One for some time now. The introduction of the safety feature was met with mixed reactions from fans, drivers, and teams alike. Some argue that it makes racing less exciting because it reduces the risk of injury, but others argue that it makes F1 safer by protecting drivers from objects flying off another car or debris on track. The Tiregate scandal. The 2016 Tiregate scandal involves accusations of cheating, implications for future races, and a lot of finger-pointing. The controversy began when Red Bull Racing's Daniel Ricciardo finished second place behind Mercedes driver Nico Rosberg at the Malaysian Grand Prix on March 29, 2016. Fans were shocked when they discovered that there was a discrepancy between how much fuel each car had used during the race. Ricciardo had used less than Rosberg despite finishing behind him on track. Thank you for watching this episode of Top 10 Binge on the biggest Formula One controversies. If you enjoyed this content and want to see more, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on future episodes. We appreciate your support and look forward to bringing you more engaging content in the future.